Miss football, and Lane Kiffin also doing a big haul on National Early Signing Day. The Rebs signed 20 players, headlined by the best player in Mississippi, 5-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham. They also signed 9 4-star players and 10 3-stars. This is a video of Caleb right here. All of those signings put them as the number 15 class nationally and number 9 in the SEC by On3. It's also what Kiffin is describing as the best class he's recruited at Ole Miss, in large part because of flipping Cunningham from Alabama. The Mississippi native is ranked as the number 3 wide receiver in the class and number 21 overall, according to On3.
Yeah, he could be huge. That was that was really big. He's a great player. You know, that at one point obviously looked like he was leaving the state and got him back. And great kid, great family, and a position of need next year with losing so much there. So we have very high expectations for him.
Yeah, so cool. That's the 3rd year in a row they've got the number 1 player from the state of Mississippi to sign with Ole Miss. You're just talking about Memphis needing to keep some guys from Memphis. You're seeing Ole Miss make a plan of it to go and get the guys from Mississippi, go and get the best guys and have that as part of their program, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, he looks like a beast. You watch his video. He looks very, very good. And yeah, that's something that you need when you brought a lot of guys in, receivers who, you know, started at the University of Mississippi, but also you bring in somebody like Juice Wells, who's been really impactful. You're going to have to replace some people. And so when you can replace them with someone like Caleb Cunningham, and you have Austin Simmons coming back, who is probably going to be the starting quarterback next year, you have that little unit that you could build off of. And what gets butts in the seats like a young wide receiver who's out there mossing people, and especially someone who's from Mississippi, Choctaw County to be exact.
He said yesterday when he was talking with press and stuff about signing with Ole Miss, he said, I want to be the guy from Mississippi. I want to be known that, yes, I'm from Mississippi. I play for Ole Miss, the best team in the state. Obviously, they've won the last couple Egg Bowls, and all the rest of it. He's like, I want to be that guy. And I think that's really cool to see not only him feel that way about his state, but also see Ole Miss kind of replicate that. And you mentioned Austin Simmons kind of potentially going to be that backup, that starting QB next year after being the backup this year. Interesting to note, no QBs signed in that class yesterday. From obviously it's early signing period. There's a whole other period. Transfer portal's opening, but that is an interesting note to know that they didn't feel like they really need a QB, probably.
Yeah, come to the SIP is a real deal, though. I think what Lane Kiffin has been able to do in the state of Mississippi, he's really owned the state of Mississippi. I feel like over the last couple of years, I think what Mississippi State has been doing has been solid, but Ole Miss has owned the state. And when listening to Lane talk about this recruiting class, he's kind of talked about just the amount of winning they've done. They've got the 3rd most wins behind, I think, Alabama and Georgia over the last 3 years. That matters. It's important for these kids who are in the state of Mississippi, and obviously the kids you're recruiting outside of Mississippi as well. You got to see wins. They want to be in the conversation for a college football playoff. They want to be in the conversation for an SEC championship, things that Ole Miss hasn't quite accomplished yet, but are very close to, on the verge of. I think what's also really interesting has just been kind of, we talk about the Egg Bowl rivalry between Ole Miss and Mississippi State. They had a linebacker, I forget his first name, Lockhart. Tyler Lockhart, 4-star linebacker, signed with Ole Miss on signing day. He's been committed to Mississippi State that entire time for months. Signed with Ole Miss on signing day.
Had the Rebel shirt.
Had the Rebel shirt.
Shark,
he did the shark fin, all that. And then come to find out, he decided to flip back to Mississippi State around, I got the timeline, 1:43 p.m. is when he signed with Ole Miss. 10 o'clock p.m. roughly is when he decided he was going back to Mississippi State. Now, he does have an older brother who plays for the Mississippi State Bulldogs, so I can understand that. But he tweets out at 11:35, my bad, which I just thought was hilarious. I thought that was the epitome of like what that whole rivalry is. But I think Ole Miss really wanted that one. And I think it's really funny that they had such drama unfold that way in such a singular way. The other note I'll make is that this is a really good recruiting class for Ole Miss. It's still really interesting to me to see the difference between their recruiting classes and some of the other ones in the SEC. You hear 15th in the country, you're like, okay, that's good. That's really good. And then you hear 9th in the SEC, you're like, 9 teams ahead of you in the SEC? I'll list them out for you. Texas is 1, which new to the conference. Okay. Bama 2, UGA is 3rd, Auburn has the 6th best class, LSU is 8th, Texas A&M is 9th, Tennessee's 10th, Florida's 11th. I think that's really interesting to still see kind of the gap that Lane Kiffin is closing, right, with these recruiting classes that he has. And the more that he wins, right, they're going to be fine. Auburn has been, it blows my mind that they can have these recruiting classes that they have every year and still be more or less irrelevant. Right? I mean, it's the honest
shout
truth.
out Hugh Freeze.
All those other teams in that mix, maybe besides Florida the last couple of years, are legitimate powerhouses in the SEC and in college football right now. So I would really like to see how well Lane Kiffin closes that gap over the next couple of years as we anticipate Ole Miss continuing to be good on the recruiting trail and everywhere else.
Auburn catching strays by you.
Maybe a little bit. I didn't mean
Maybe a little
It didn't
bit.
mean to be a stray necessarily. It was a stray.
There's a kid from Tennessee, the number 2 running back in Tennessee, who's a four-star. Shakai Mills-Knight out of Chattanooga. I think he's going to have an instant impact. And then they got a safety who's a 4-star, Ladrian Clary. Hopefully I said your name right. I watched both of their tapes actually right before I came here today, and they look solid. They look really good. And they're going to have to replace those safeties that are leaving, coming up. So, yeah, Ladrian Clary.
Clary.
Ladrian. It just sounds like I'm saying his name wrong.
Just say it 5 times fast.
Ladrian Clary.
We're not gonna
Okay.
get anywhere.